Well, hello there, everybody. I am going to make a quick video about how to use terms in this class. And so this is going to be very, very important. I would say that the number one deciding variable between people getting A's and B's and C's in the class is how they use the terms in their writing. The writing is very, very important. And it's how I am able to assess your higher level critical thinking, in particular synthesis. You're synthesizing the course material with your own experiences and ideas. So you're going to use this advice about how to use terms for your sociologue. And so, any good teacher tries to make it very clear, not have mysteries about how to get a good grade. And so the writing tends to be a tricky part for some people. And so I want to make this very clear because the terms are super important. So I've broken down all that you need to know for how to perform well in the class with regard to terms. Um, I've made a list here so you can check things off one at a time. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to also include a checklist written down so you can check it off one at a time when you're doing your work. I'm going to talk about how to find terms, how to learn the terms, and how to apply the terms in your writing. Okay. So the first thing is, what is this? Like, when I say term, what am I talking about? Like, what is a good sociological term? Actually, a sociological term can be a concept such as structural functionalism or symbolic interactionism, marital entropy, figuration, any kind of concept. But it also can be like so you kind of think of it as like a vocabulary as well. But the reason I don't like to use the word vocabulary is because terms also embrace the idea of a concept or a theory or a person. You can also, use a theory like the structural functionalism, conflict theory, those dramaturgical approach. There's all kinds of terms and theories that are presented in class. So what you're going to do is you're going to find these. You're going to look for them in the chapters or look for them in my lectures or look for them in the PowerPoints, and you're going to identify them. So how do you identify a good term? What is a good term to use in your writing? First of all, it's got to be something that's clear. It's clear to me that it's new to you. It's got to be a new word or concept or term or vocabulary word or theory, something that's new to you. Uncommon words. Something that also is endemic to sociology. That means that it's particular to sociology. So the word, for example, function, while we use the word function a lot in sociology, it's not endemic to sociology. That is, it's not particular to sociology. I want to see that you're learning new sociological terms and you're growing from that. It's got to be something that's it's new to you. Cognitive biases that we cover maybe in class. It depends on what class you're in. So these types of things that are, that's kind of a new idea or new concept to me. Habitus, these kinds of things. Those are the ones I want you. Those are good terms to use for your writing. It shows me that you're growing. So what are good examples? I've given you some of them already, but let's just give you an example of a term that's a really good one to use, and I'll tell you why it's good. Okay, that's the big thing. I'm going to tell you 3 examples. I'm going to tell you why they're good examples. First one is culture lag. Culture lag is a term that you learn in Sociology 101. And culture lag also is used in Sociology 125. And what is that? Well, it's obviously like if I'm saying it right now and you haven't read about it, you're like, I don't know what it is. And that's a good sign because I want to see growth. I want to see it be a new idea or concept that you're learning. So culture lag is the tendency for change in material culture to occur at a rapid rate. So what would that mean? For example, the advent of computers. It takes people a while to get adjusted to this idea of computers, self-driving cars, Some people don't know how to, like, they're scared of the new technology. They don't know how to use it. So they're experiencing culture lag. There's a period of adjustment where it's like, wow, this is a whole new thing to me. How do I do this? How to use Microsoft Word for some of you is some culture lag. How to play a video game in class, there's some culture lag with that too. So anything that that's a good term to use. If you were going to write that in your sociologue, I'd be like, great, that is obviously a new term for you. Now, how many times do you hear that outside of sociology? Not very often. Even in the news, you don't hear people talk about culture lag. Dominant culture, that's another great one. That's dominant culture is the culture held by the majority, and majority in sociology is the people that are in power, not the most amount of people. People don't understand that, and they get that screwed up a lot of the times. People think the majority is where there's the most amount of people. Like the majority in the United States is white. Now, the majority in the United States is white, but it's because the white people tend to have a higher amount of power than other demographics. So it has a little to do with that. So dominant culture is the culture held by the majority, right? Those in power, what do they say is the right thing to do? What is people in power? What do they say is the right way to behave? The right songs to listen to, the right music, the fashions to dress. All these things are passed down to us by dominant culture. Okay, you don't hear that term a lot outside of sociology. That's why it's a good term. Homophily is also a great term. When's the last time you heard of that? So if you use that in your writing, I'd be like, well, that's great. I can see that you're growing here. Homophily is the tendency for people to seek out or to be attracted to people that are similar to themselves. I see this even happen in my work. People tend to pal around or align with people that remind them of themselves. And it really closes off their experience in life in terms of being able to be open-minded and learn new things from different ways of life and different people. So homophily is a great term. If you use that, you can see why that's a good term to use. Structure is often used in sociology. Again, that might not be the best term though, because it's the way it's used sociologically might be okay. Let me see if I can come up with another bad example of a term to use. Gender. Gender, that's not showing a lot of growth. I'm sure you know what gender is. So how do I learn a term? Well, the way to learn that term is to play the game, because you're going to use terms a lot in the game. Write the term down, look it up in a dictionary if you have to. Think about how it's used in context in my lecture or in the textbook or in the PowerPoints. Oftentimes in a lecture, if I come up with a new term, I will say, this is a great new term, and I always explain what a new term is in lecture, especially with theorists or theories. Remember, those can be terms as well. Not all terms are emboldened in the textbook or in the PowerPoint, okay? So you got to kind of, keep your mind and eyes open for them. How do I apply a term for credit? Well, the way to do that is you need to, when in your writing, in your log, you need to first define the term so that you know what it means, and then apply it in context within your writing. And that's the tricky part. That's the higher level critical thinking. This is the golden trophy for all teachers. They want their students to synthesize new material that they've learned with their own experiences or their own ideas. And so again, I'm apolitical, so I don't mind if you synthesize this with your political ideas or your personal experiences, as long as I want you to learn the concepts right. I'm not here to indoctrinate, I'm here to teach. So I want you to make sure that you use those terms right and correctly in the context of your writing. Okay, that's how you get credit for it. All right. So if you don't define it or you don't explain to me that you know what it means by using it in context, you won't get full credit for it. Okay. Give me an example. You might want an example of a student doing a good job with a term. So I've written one out here. Let me see if I can remember. So an example of somebody writing a good term would be something like someone who's a teacher, and they write, as an educator, understanding and using the sociological imagination will help me with regard to relating to children and students and their families and the situations that they come from in my classroom. Well, that's great. Sociological imagination is the term used, and they've applied it in a way where I can see that makes sense. Because that's really what the sociological imagination is. You put a lens on where you say, okay, that person's behaving in a certain way or have different values or different traits or norms. where they're coming from, and that's the sociological imagination. That's how you can judge for yourself whether you align with that, and also maybe understand a lot better where somebody's coming from, because they might not share the norms and values that you might have, especially if you're in the dominant culture. Okay, so that's an example of using a good term. So that's really it. That's really it for how to find a term, how to use it, how to apply it, how to get credit for it. What is a good term? I gave you some examples there. So this is a big piece of why people get A's and B's and C's on their logs. So you might want to watch this again. You could use this as criteria to grade yourself with regard to your final sociolog. But this is a very critical thing for you to learn. And also, here's the other thing too. Every dang teacher, no matter what their subject matter is, even math, biology, you name it, they all steal and think that they're sociologists. They all think that sociology is a common sense type of thing. And it's not, it's a science. And so if you use some of these wonderful terms and theories and theorists and ideas and concepts, like culture lag, or if you include culture lag in your econ paper or psych paper, and the teacher's going to be like, wow, they might even have to look it up, right? And so you're going to impress people. So I want you to carry these skills into other classes, because sociology and the sociological lens, when you understand human behavior, especially demographic behavior, determinants of behavior in terms of their class or whatever the case may be, scientifically, boy, does that empower you in your life, and it also empowers your academic career as well. And this is why I'm such a stickler for grading you on how well you've learned, apply, and identify and apply terms within the context of your writing. All right, hope that helps you. Okay.